Hi, everybody. Thanks for being back with us again. Today's topic is acute myeloid leukemia. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
I'm going to start this episode reading a journal entry that I kept when we went through this. This is from August 19th, 2010. And this is day 2. It is Thursday night, ? I had to just check with Carlos to get the day right. Not date, just day. So I thought I'd just go chronologically to get everyone up to speed. Most of the summer of 2010, I bugged doctors about Aiden's low blood counts. Aiden even got to the point where he wanted a bone marrow test done to find out what was going on so he could get better. He never had any symptoms other than normal not feeling good, things that happen around his treatment time, or when he gets a cold or something. Then the week of August 5th, he got really sick. No energy, stuffy nose and vomiting, a lot of mucus. The hematologist gave him Augmentin, and after 5 doses, he was like a new boy, outside swimming and playing with his friends. August 16th. Carlos and I took Aiden to Rainbow to get the bone marrow test done. They said they would have the results by the end of the week. We were thinking they would find a virus that was preventing him from making his blood cells. August 17th. I was driving in my car with Carly and my mother-in-law, going to drop them off at my house so I could go to a work meeting. I picked up my cell phone and saw that the doctor had called. My heart jumped out of my chest because I knew they would never call this fast unless it was serious. The doctor told me that they got preliminary results back and that the pathologist found leukemia cells in his bone marrow. So the place on this earth where I got this news was a little dirt road off of Benefit Avenue, right near Carlos's childhood home. I was on the phone with the doctor for at least 30 minutes, drilling him up and down because they told us Aiden had leukemia 7 years ago when he was first diagnosed with his immune disorder. The doctor said we needed to come to their office and then Aiden would be admitted to Rainbow. Carlos and I had several long talks with the doctors about what we had been through before and how in the world can a child have 2 extremely rare conditions. We still have a little feeling deep down inside where we think they're going to come in and sit us down like they did 7 years ago and say, we missed something and made a mistake. August 18th. Yesterday, Aiden got settled into his room on the 2nd floor of Rainbow. He got to go down to the game room, which he loves. This morning, I attended my first rounds meeting. That is where all of the doctors, fellows, residents, and interns involved in your case from every practice review the facts and next steps for Aiden. It's like Grey's Anatomy outside your door. I like that I can hear what they are deciding for Aiden, and they include us in the discussion. I have my own little journal that I record information and questions in, and I've been keeping it for 7 years. So that thing has been very helpful for recalling details you'd normally forget. Today, Aiden had an x-ray of his chest and an echocardio test that he will get often. Everything came back fine, so his body would be up for chemo. Some numbers that are important for Aiden are for his IgG levels to be around 1,000, and his were at 1,300, and his platelets need to be at least 75, his were at 72. Aiden got his IVIG medicine tonight, and they pre-treated him with Benadryl, and he was out. He slept like 12 straight hours, and he needed it. He is scheduled for surgery at 8:30 in the morning, but they need his platelets to be at 75, so he's getting an infusion during the night tonight. August 19th. Surgery was scheduled for 8:30, but didn't happen until around 11 because they couldn't get his platelets up where they wanted. Aiden had a Broviet catheter put in so Aiden wouldn't have to get poked anymore, and he had a spinal tap done to see if there were any leukemia cells in the spinal fluid. And we finally got some good news that there was not. So that was my journal post for those first few days to update everybody. And the website that I used is Caring Bridge. It's a free website for people who are going through things like this, can have one spot where they can just make a post and let everybody go there and see it. It's so helpful. So then this next journal entry was Carlos's first journal post. And he wrote on August 20th, 3 weeks ago, Aiden was doing the 2 things that he loves the most, swimming and playing football. Then one day I noticed that he doesn't want to go into the pool. The next day, he doesn't want to go to football practice. Now, 3 weeks later, Aiden is telling me and his mom to kill him because he is in so much pain. Everything happened so fast.
Yeah, that brings back a lot of memories. And getting to the point where Aiden mentioned that he was in so much pain. When we first went to the emergency room prior to going to the second floor in Rainbow, it was just a whirlwind for him and us, everybody around us. And, it was such a shock to all of us because our world was literally turned upside down in that moment.
In an instant.
You're literally thinking, I'm going to go to work the next day or, have dinner tonight or something, and everything is upside down.
Yeah, I was literally on my way to a work meeting and just stopped in my tracks. Everything changed right at that moment.
Exactly. And so the same thing for Aiden. He was playing with his friends. He started feeling a little bit better. He was in the swimming pool. He was getting frustrated that we couldn't figure out what was going on. He says, well, just give me the bone, the bone marrow test. And, and all of a sudden we get this news and immediately you have to get there. So all the things that Kim just read, him getting the Broviac catheter and all that, just was completely...
It's shocking. I just think everybody was in shock.
And Aiden was, in this eye of the hurricane with us, right? There was just so much going on around us. And, to Kim's point, we've talked about at the time and then later was once he came out of that surgery and, he was like, has this thing on him all of a sudden, we wanted him to have some normalcy, just something that he could enjoy. So we kind of gave him the hospital menu, here, order what you want,
let's feel better. Let's, you can eat.
Yeah, do something, something a little bit normal, So he orders an exorbitant amount of food, right?
And nobody told us not to.
Exactly.
So.
And, he's just, just kind of watching TV and eating some food. And gosh, it wasn't probably not even an hour later that he just kind of sat up, got to the edge of the bed, started rocking back and forth a little bit, and just was like, hey, I don't feel good. I'm in pain, and to the point where it just kept escalating, like not even minute by minute, but second by second. He was just escalating, and he's like, I want to die, kill me, I want to die. And even my in-laws were like, Aiden, don't say that, and he's like, no, I want to die, kill me. And to the point where they even left the room, they just went in the hallway, and Kim went out in the hallway and and I'm just sitting there with it. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I just want to die. And Kim explains it so much better, but it just never ended. He kept doing that for...
It was awful. And Aiden is the type of kid, he's always... If we went to Disney one time and, you walk forever for days, and he was probably 7, 8 at the time. His feet hurt on the way back late at night, midnight, 10, 11, whatever time it was late at night. The whole, whatever ride you're on to get back to the hotel, my feet hurt. He will say the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what he was doing. He was reacting to this pain that he was having, and it was just on the edge of the bed, sitting straight up. He couldn't get any relief, and he just kept saying, I probably started with my stomach hurts, and then it's just, kill me, I just want to die right now. And it was torturous to listen to, and I think Carlos had mentioned how I'm reactive to things, and I just could be in there to try to help for a little while, and then I'd have to step out. And if I'm reactive, my mom is overly reactive. So we're all trying to calm each other down. And it was crazy when you get thrown into a situation like that and you're trying to make sense of it and then dealing with the issues that are coming up. And you can't keep yourself calm, but you're trying to calm your son down. And,
I just thought of this, and, one movie scene that we talk about a lot is terms of endearment when,
give her the
give her the
time.
shot. It's 11 o'clock, and I think we were in that mode of do something.
Somebody do something
to relieve this pain, right?
And
Do something,
yeah.
find something. And they tried, but this lasted for a very, very long time.
I'd have to go back and look up if this date was on the weekend, but I'm pretty sure this was either nearing the weekend or on the weekend, and it was like skeleton crew. So none of the main doctors, and we're new, so we went in with a hematologist doctor, and at some point we're handed off to oncology. So we're in the middle of that. It's the weekend. It's like a new intern who hasn't hardly been there, and they didn't know what to do, and it was just a bad situation all the way around. So
Right.
that was that first night.
Exactly.
So there you are, right? And then you got to wake up the next day, and I don't know, Aiden any of us hardly got any sleep that night. But Carlos and I both stayed at the hospital. He needed us both there.
And, I'm pretty sure it was the weekend, but we literally, that's the eye of the hurricane, right? That's just all this stuff's going on around us, and we're just centrally focused on why is our son sitting on the edge of bed saying he's in so much pain. The other thing is this kid hasn't caught a break, right? He has a lifelong illness with Bruton's where every 3 weeks for the rest of his life, he has to have an IVIG treatment because he doesn't make the antibodies that he needs to survive. So it's survival. You live if you get these infusions every 3 weeks, or you die. And now he's faced with this. All this stuff's going on around us, and then we have to come to the realization we have a daughter who's going to be starting school because it's near the end of the summertime. Kim works. I work.
Yep.
How are we going to manage this, this schedule? And
Because we weren't leaving him there by himself. We came to the decision pretty fast that someone's going to be here with him. But then someone also needed to be at home with Carly. We needed to be able to work.
So I think the best way for us to do that was, I went to my boss. I'm a salesman at a plastics company. And I went to my boss and said, look, I really need to work remote. I would love to be able to do that, at Rainbows during the work week. I'll still take all my meetings and do everything that I need to do, but there may be occasion where I may need some air support, some help, because, depending on what was going on with Aiden that day, I may miss a thing or two, I had to still take trips, and, there was a lot of things that were going on that, I was really trying to manage. But thank goodness for my job, because they said, sure, you can do that during the work week up there. And so that was beneficial. Kim has, a certain amount of, PTO days, safety days, whatever you call them, and
Sick days, and through using like the Family Medical Leave Act, like combining all of that. Like I kind of had rules, that had to be followed. So I had to be at work for most of the week. And it worked out. So like if I just like was off, 1 day a week, so we would always stretch that over the weekend so that he could get home, get a little break, and, we were splitting our time between both of our kids.
So the way it worked was I would come in on Sunday night, so Kim could be home and get up to go to work first thing Monday morning. So I would come in, me and Carly would come in Sunday night. She'd come visit Aiden. Kim would take her back home. They would go to school, work. And then Thursday night after school and work, they would come back to Rainbows. I would come home with Carly. And then I would be Friday and Saturday at home, and then Sunday most of the day. And then I would come Sunday and relieve Kim. So, so it was a good a good way to schedule that, because Kim really only could use about 1 day a week before of sick time before her time would run out, because we were in this for the long haul. So we really had to sparse out those days as much as we could.
That was one of the systems we had to work with.
Work with
so,
it,
and that
through,
one worked.
around.
But, both of our jobs were extremely important. All of our family are helpful, supportive. All of our family and friends, just the outpouring of love from everybody was, and you have to learn to accept that, when, especially if you're not people who usually do that, but you have to. So, you're at day 2, 3, starting to go through this, and you're still in shock. You're still trying to wrap your head around, like, what just happened? What is going on? And seeing the long road ahead. When children are diagnosed with leukemia, most cases are ALL, and the doctors will even say, that's the one you want to hear, because it's the most treatable. You don't have to be in the hospital for as long of a time. AML is not the one you want to hear. It's fast-moving, severe treatment, long stays in the hospital. So, we're wrapping our head around that and trying to figure out how to manage this. So, even being in that situation, we figured some things out. We got some schedules worked out, like he explained, with our work and with Carly. Carly had to end up, being with grandparents, a lot if that was needed. And we showed the journal, but we started a binder also that just some clear pocket sleeves and attending rounds. We made it a priority to never miss rounds. No matter who was up at the hospital, we would be there. And that was good because it helped us plan for treatments, because that's what they discuss. Like, where's the patient at? What do they need? Medicines for the day, tests for the day. So you just kind of know what's coming. So it allowed us to prepare Aiden, plan the day out. And so being at those rounds and with my journal, with my questions, they knew that, we were really vested in that. And so they started printing out all the lab reports every morning, get all the blood work, all his counts. And so I just started saving them. I would just stick them in pocket sleeves, and sometimes I needed them, sometimes we didn't, but I have almost every single one still today in binders.
And the importance of that is, first of all, it's, how is the progression of his care going, right? Which is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. But even on the specific day-to-day things, like, we always knew some targeted numbers. Like, if he had a temperature under so many Celsius, because they read it in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so we learned how to convert that real fast, too.
Yeah, we had to learn how to do that. But we knew if he reached a certain temperature, he would be on room arrest. He couldn't leave his room. Mm-hmm. If we knew that his...
That's what we called it.
Room arrest.
Room arrest.
Yeah.
You can't have a fever and go to the game room.
Can't go to the game room.
Yeah.
But we also learned that if, his platelets were getting close to 75 or lower, that he was going to possibly get an infusion of some platelets, mm-hmm. which would be preceded by a dose of Benadryl, which would knock him out for 12 hours. So if we were trying to give him some things to entertain him, so if we knew that was coming that day from rounds, we would do something in the morning, right? Try to do as much as we could before that.
Get your fun in.
Yeah, get your fun in now, because you're going to be out for the next 12 hours. So we learned a lot from rounds. Like Kim said, she kept, every single one of those. We were, even at some points, we were tracking, his progress. So we made like a visual board in the room based on his results, and we'll get into a lot of the specific milestones that he mm-hmm. needed to meet. But we would track that, and he could visually see what was going on with his care, because we took all that information.
And that came later because, with time. It came with time because we had to do a lot of research. And when we were at rounds, and these are things we highly recommend, getting journals to write things down so that you have notes of what the doctors say, because you won't remember, and being able to write down the questions you have so that you'll remember to ask them when you see the doctors, and you're going to see the doctors at rounds. So that's very helpful. The binder, just to keep anything, paperwork, keep it in one place so you know where it's at. And then when we would hear things at rounds, we would do a lot of research. If they said something that I didn't know, I would look it up. And I also spent probably the first week or so in heavy denial about the leukemia because of the misdiagnosis that had happened 7 years ago. So I was on the search of anything else it could be. Like, I wanted to prove that that's not what it was. So they were very patient with me. But that was also, and I think that's when they started giving me the paperwork, because they realized I was in this and I was trying to be knowledgeable, but that also helped us have the language we needed to be able to communicate back to them. So,
well, and I think the language came from the Google searches that you did, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So Kim would spend a lot of time looking up stuff, or maybe connecting with somebody on Facebook, right? People would share some of their stories, right? Like what we're trying to do today, right? Share our stories. If you want to reach out to us and ask us some specific questions, I'm sure we'd be happy to answer those.
Absolutely. And probably one of the first things I ever did was go on a Google search for kids with AML, because I wanted to see those stories of hope. I wanted to see those kids who made it out to the other side and how long they lived. And we want to provide that for you. I know how important that was for me. Like, I had to see it. I had to find those places, and that's very helpful.
Right, because, AML was, the one leukemia that, you didn't want to have. There were people in there with ALL, and they were coming and going,
in and out,
and we were like stuck there, and didn't really understand. But Kim did a lot of, Google searching, and the doctors would tell us, sometimes the nurses, sometimes, the fellows at rounds be like, oh, don't look up anything on the internet. It's just going to, point you in the wrong direction, give you misinformation, and you should listen to us. And I hear a lot of people say that. It happened to us in person. I hear people say that on TV shows all the time. Oh, where'd you find that on Google? But I think it provided us the language that we needed to have an intelligent conversation with the doctor, so we understood our child's care path. Did we make suggestions? Hey, what about the orange peel study that was done at St. Jude's in, 1989? Which is not true.
We're just making that.
Yeah, that's not true. But yeah, we would bring some of those things to their attention, and say, well, what about this? And why did they try that, right? And we would get a lot of pushback, but I think it helped us have the language that we needed, to be able to speak to them.
Absolutely. And that's going to show up again later in one of our episodes, where we will be able to share other ways we were able to track Aiden's progress, some things we discovered on our own, and some things we were able to bring to the table. So we'll leave that for another episode. We are going to end this episode with this last journal entry that is going to really paint the picture of where we stood as a family that second night being in the hospital, and what Aiden's condition really was. These were my words from back on August 21st, 2010. It is 1:14 a.m. on Saturday. Aiden's been sleeping for 1 hour. Hallelujah. Thursday night, he had 3 hours of sleep and spent the whole day, 20 plus hours, in pain from cramps. He literally sat up straight for about 20 straight hours because it hurt to lay down. I believe this came from doing too much too fast and eating too fast after his surgery. So he already didn't feel good, and then they started chemo. Aiden is a tough kid, but this is really getting to him. It is so not fair that he has to have an IV every 3 weeks and be sick all the time from his immune disorder, but now he has to go through this. I think it finally hit him today, and I can't blame him. I'm just as mad. We will plow through, but today was the hardest day of my life, and Carlos was the hero. He is so good with Aiden, talking him through things and calming him down. He really needs both of us to be here right now. And I know a lot of people were thinking of visiting, but I don't think that would be a possibility for a very long time. We need to learn this new life as just a family of 4 for a while. Not that I wouldn't love to hang out with my family and friends for a while, but that just isn't happening right now. We barely get down to the cafeteria to eat, and thank goodness my mom brought some homemade lasagna to heat up for tonight because we couldn't leave the floor. I don't know how I'm going to watch my child go through this. I barely made it through today, and certainly I didn't make it without screaming at a few interns and having a few meltdowns. Well, day 1 of chemo is over. Good night. We're going to end our episode with that, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.